Welcome back, everyone, to Blue Collar Startup. I'm your co-host, Mike Nelson, joined today, audio only, Derek Foster. Derek, what's up?
I'm here. Mike, how you doing, man?
Living the dream. How about you guys?
We're good. And that's Mike Turcotte with now. And Mike, the name of your business, Turn Cycle Solutions. Is that the?
Yep.
Tell us. Obviously looked at the website a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, so I actually started, tomorrow will be our 15th year in business. So
Wow.
February 9th of 2009 was the day that I filed for my LLC paperwork in New Hampshire. I had this dream of owning a business. I didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up. I still don't really know that, but I'm trying real hard to figure it out. And so at 23, I filed for the paperwork to open an energy auditing company. Was the original concept of what I thought I was going to be when I grew up. And I started in my grandmother's Breezeway. So she was in her late 80s, needed somebody to kind of watch over her. So it was the perfect place for me to go and see grandma and started my business there. I had two interns kind of when I first started, and just to current day, we roll 18 trucks out on the road in New Hampshire. We have 25 employees as of today. We're looking to try to bring in a couple more, and I know you guys talk explicitly about workforce development. Definitely a hot topic in New Hampshire just as much as it is New York. But
yeah,
our business has grown so much over the last 15 years. I'm happy to tell you about that. If you want to kind of crack some questions against me, it's whatever you guys prefer.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. I guess as far as like how you did it, I think everyone that is, whether they're a solo entrepreneur or even 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, or maybe just hire their first employee, I guess would love to hear just a little more about the story of going from, being in Grandma's Breezeway to rolling, 18 trucks. I mean, that's a substantial gain. And did it all happen recently? Was it slow rolling over the years? Like, what can you tell us about that?
So I quickly realized that I was not going to just be able to sustain the life that I wanted to. Being an energy auditor, I had a customer that provided an aha moment for me when I was going out and doing these energy audits. They said, "All right, cool, this is great. You gave us a bunch of information. What does it cost to fix the house to make it better, make it more comfortable to live in, make it not as noisy, all these different things, stop the drafts, so on and so forth." And I said, "Oh, no kidding, I know how to do that." And so I got a couple of guys, and that's kind of where we went from just being like an energy audit service to actually being an installer. And where we live, it's called a home performance contractor. So through the next 7 years, from 2009 on, we grew the weatherization division or home performance contracting division within our company. The best decision that I ever made, that my dad will tell you, my dad was a union sheetrocker. I'll talk a little bit more about him later in this kind of segment, because I kind of owe most of my success to him and my work ethic. But
Nice.
I hired an office person to support me in picking up the phones, because I was the doer. The most important thing for me was to have a live person to pick up the phone. So where I see, or at least what I should say, my success was having a person that was delegating responsibilities to me, even though I was the owner. Even to this current day, like, I don't like to book my own appointments because I have too many things going on. So I always ask for a support person, an account manager, to support us in helping making the thing run. And so through the next 7 years, it was hire an account manager that kind of helped me with book appointments, meet with customers, helping me support with billing, proposals, things like that. I always had a person that would be there for me in support. And honestly, it was a person that I trusted and just was able to bounce ideas off of, because doing it alone is wicked tough. I was fortunate that the person believed in me and saw the critical path forward, stayed with me for 4 years. And then I hired an energy auditor to kind of backfill the spot. I became a production overseer, I guess is what I'll say, of the installation measures. And then at the turn of the 7th year, we had a customer that we had done some installation work previously say, hey, can you do a bathroom for us? I was like, oh, I know how to do that too. And that started what I say is like turn cycle 2.0, or chapter 2 in our life cycle of our business. And for the next following 7 years, which is brings me up to like last year, I grew our general contracting division of our company to have a lead estimator, a production manager. We have 4 in-house carpenters or junior carpenters. And that was way harder to grow that general contracting division than to grow the single trade installation division. Just because you have to know so much in being a GC. You got to know plumbing, electrical, foundations, I mean, tree trimming, I mean, asphalt, everything. You got to know a little bit about everything. So I thought it was going to be a way easier ride because I kind of had some of that core structure already figured out previously. But I got news for you. It was the hardest things probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But to current day, we have 10 or 12 installation installers. We have 2 energy auditors. We have an account manager, an operations manager. The interesting part now is I don't really have a job as an owner. And I think that's where I probably struggle with, I struggle with that the most because I don't have a job. So like, I'm not the salesperson. I'm not the production person. I'm not the guy physically using these things to do the job. I have to recruit talent. I have to make sure that our operations and sales are actually moving in the right direction. I got to make sure that the building that we're operating in is big enough for the amount of bodies we need to fill inside of it. So it's been a wild ride.
You know, what I hear you saying, your first hire was really that support person, right? Yep. When you started to then look at who your next hires were going to be, and I think you said you kind of like backfilling your position, how did you make that determination? Like, was it, you know, just kind of like, oh, what do I hate doing? Or, you know, was it more methodical than that, where you're trying to figure out where you should be spending your time, or what did that look like for you?
It's a great question. And it's the opposite. I always hired for what I liked because I wanted to train the person in the thing that I knew the best, because I knew I could train the person to take on that responsibility. I based my hiring strategy off of character traits that I had that I was pretty good at. Consequently said, not a great carpenter. I'm slow. I got too much stuff swirling around up here, billing, advertising, you know, hiring. Like when I actually go to physically do the thing, I'm really good at explaining everything. I can take the measurements, but when the hand hits the saw, it all falls apart in my head. It's like I've built it in my head, and I kind of like can't go any further. It's a weird. My guys give me a hard time, and the cool thing now is like, at least as a young man in my 20s, I kind of really struggled with that I knew how to do it, but my ego was like, oh, I can do this, and there isn't a place for me. I'm not a carpenter. I'm a business person that runs a construction company, and my team that works with me now respectfully knows that that's not my skill. I don't try to be that skilled person. And as we move forward, they don't want me wearing a tool belt, because if I put a tool belt on, they know that things are not good. And I don't want to be there as much as they don't want to have me there. And that's not said in any disrespect, but but I always try to hire, to come back to the point that you were asking, is that I always try to hire for the skill that I had. So I was always really good at sales, like really, really, really good. You lob me anything and I'll knock it out of the park. That was always my skill growing up. I worked in sales. I sold Movado watches through college. My strategy was, if you looked at something in a case, I put it on your wrist, you walked away with it. That was my game every single time. It's like, oh, you should just try it on. And then I would just kind of put my hand in my pocket and make sure that they walked out with it and it didn't end up back in my hands. So I hired that first young man. His name was Kyle, and trained him skillfully on the things that I was good at. then I had to learn to be a better production manager. And that's how I kind of backed myself through that process. As I learned and became more skilled, I wanted to pass that on to the next person that was behind me.
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that they hired to what they were good at first, right? Because then when you let go of those things that you're great at, what do you do next, right? Now, so now you got to hold on to that stuff that you're not great at. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did that go for you?
Well, you just figure it out. Like if you're in this business, if you're in any construction trade, like you have to do whatever it is to get the job done. Like even if you, whatever you do in your life, right? If you work on Wall Street, right? There's certain things that you just do that you have to teach yourself. And so like if I knew I was really skilled at the sales side of the business and making estimates and knowing what things cost, well then I like check that box. Now I got a laundry list of other things that I got to get better at if I'm going to be successful. It's always kind of how I framed my look. And why would I want someone to do the thing that I don't know how to do so that if they leave, I'm without that skill already and I haven't been taught that. I can't retrain the next person in the pipeline. Every job in my company I have done, I don't do willingly anymore. But I will always do it. If the phone rings, and someone's not there, I pick up the phone, Turn Cycle Solutions. I know how to book an appointment. I know how to put them into the system. I'm not good at it because I'm untrained or unpolished at this point. But I think it shows your team that no matter how bad the job is, no matter how hard it is, we'll show up and I'll grind with them if we're behind on the schedule. Even our admin people, our office support person, if they're in the bathroom and you don't pick up the phone, you let it ring, go to voicemail, I think it just says something about your character as a person, because that is your job as the owner. Anything that exists is my responsibility, is kind of try to how I take the frame of reference. But I backfilled the slot because they're better at the thing than me.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. It's like I said, I've never really heard that approach before, but I think it makes a lot of sense. It's pretty cool. Yeah. What do you got, D-Rock?
So, and Mike, I guess that's always, and to Mike Nelson's point, it was always the opposite. Hire what you're not good at. So it's a very different perspective and very interesting. Where are you sourcing your employees from? You must have a pretty good pipeline now that you're up to 25. Where do you look when you need to hire somebody?
I'm doing the weirdest, wackiest stuff right now. So I'm getting more creative as the day goes by because it's so thin in New Hampshire. I think we have like under 2% unemployment. It's really, really tough for me to find an employee. But so in Indeed is kind of like how we find it. But then I'm getting real resourceful and I'm going to Facebook or Google or trying to find them as a person, because sometimes they'll even send us a resume and then you call and they don't answer. Or we schedule interviews and we'll schedule 6 interviews. We had an account manager position we just filled. We scheduled, I think, 8 or 10 interviews and we had 4 show up. So for me, it was really, I thought that was more like a blue collar tradesman thing. Like, I got a job, but they didn't let us know. But it's across the industry. I don't think that there's the same level of integrity as when I started. And like, if you apply for a job and there's a certain process, because the market is so demanding of help. I don't know how else to describe it any other way than that. But so to make a long story short, all means necessary. I ask our existing team, because our culture, generally speaking, is very loose. Like we have a Thursday meeting I just got off of. Every Thursday we have a 9 a.m. meeting that runs about an hour and a half ish, and we have a great time. I require that every week, and it is becoming kind of recumbent at this point because of the amount of people that sit at the table. We go through every job that we have in the queue. So we have three salespeople, 2 on the weatherization side, 1 on the general contracting side. 2 production people, and we literally go top to bottom and we talk about every single job that is in our existing pipeline. And that's been important too, because there's so much crossover between the different divisions, but it also helps all of the people that are around them, that if someone calls, they have some data to support that person, whether it's a salesperson, production person. It's hard. Like, it takes 3 months to hire somebody, kind of, in my opinion, like, to find the right person. I'm very fortunate that my wife, Alyssa, came to work in our business 2 years ago. So we had that original person come in and help us for like 3-4 years. Then I had an employee stay with us for 8 years, and she moved on to another position, and the timing of it worked really well. I mean, at least for me, I should say, that our second kid was being born, and it was the end of her maternity. And I went home on a Friday and told her she was hired. We had talked about it for a while, but I can tell you with conviction that was the best hire I probably ever made, because for me personally, there's no person that has my best interest in mind better than my parents, than my wife. So it's been wonderful working to her. We've grown the business in the last year by about, in the last year by about $2 million with her in the co-pilot, or as the pilot. I don't know which one I am anymore.
Oh, that's great. Awesome. So, yeah, you were telling me about that last week, Mike, when we spoke, and talk about the family dynamic. You guys are very family oriented, it seems, and how do you balance, the work side of things with the family life? I know it can be challenging.
It's not at all for me. It's weird. So, like, before Alyssa and I decided to do or make the jump, I should say, we reached out to some people that we kind of idolize a little bit. So there's a commercial construction company that's in our local area, and Gary and Mimi of North Point Construction. You should get them on this podcast. Wonderful people. And we reached out to them. We reached out to some friends of ours that own a landscape business. We just kind of asked them, like, hey, what's the rub? Like, what's the good? What's the bad? They had been doing it for a period of time. And for us, I think that we respect each other explicitly, and we're in our own lanes. I'm the technical guy. I deal with all of the things that have to do with the deliverable service on the front end. So how does the estimation go out? How does the technical aspect of the product that we're delivering get handled? And the division of responsibility is anything to do with money or relative employees is mom's responsibility. So I'm the dad of Turn Cycle, and she is the mom of Turn Cycle. And they are employees. At least as a rule, they tell us that it works out pretty well, and I think it does so far. So I have Alyssa, that's we call her the controller. She kind of deals with all the money coming and going. And then my mother-in-law, actually, we had a bookkeeper position open up, and she just kind of tossed it out there, and we were like, yeah, who better to have managed my money than a parent of ours, right? So they're going to always have our best interest in mind. They'll always be watching out for us. There was a point where, like, both of us were probably a little gun shy on that initial relationship, but I can tell you the thing that I value about my mother-in-law the most is that she realizes that I am the boss, right? So I started this from nothing. I had $364 in my bank account and a pipe dream when I first started this business in 2009. And she respects that about me. And she is a very good person and does what she says she's going to do and gets it done. So just like any other employee, she treats me the same way that I treat her. And I'm of the utmost appreciative of that. About a month ago, my front end account manager needed to leave for some medical reasons. It was pretty abrupt. My sister-in-law was a stay-at-home mom, and we grabbed her and wouldn't let her go until she said yes to us to come and pick up the phones on a temporary basis. And so then we had her in for about a month. We were interviewing to replace that position. And when we went to go to hire that second person, we sent out an email and said, hey, we hired our GC account manager. We're looking to hire the weatherization one. And she just raised her hand like, please pick me. I want to stay. And it was wonderful. She's been a great pickup for us. Coming from being a stay-at-home mom to stepping into that position, I think that she is like rejuvenated as a person. I've known her a long time. My brother's been married to her, and I just see a new spark in her, and I love that. And then I have my number one employee, which is my old man. He retired out of the union in Boston, and we own a third division that I picked up about 5 years ago. We bought a roll-off dumpster truck to support our general contracting division, and it's clean up your mess dumpsters. And basically, my dad drives the dumpster truck. It's a support for our general contracting division because we were spending pretty absorbent amount of money on trash and demo, and we were being controlled by the dumpster company. They said they would drop it at 8 o'clock in the morning. They'd show up at 10. We'd have to hang around and wait, touch the trash 2 times. So it was a wicked our business. So I cut the guy out and just went and bought the truck myself. Current day, we have 2 trucks and 14 dumpsters. And my dad does that on a part-time basis. He comes and disrupts the office and does all kinds of he doesn't think that we actually like run a legit business. We're 20 something employees, and we're in this one of my favorite stories most recently about him is he came into our into a meeting that we have, a very important meeting with the utility company that we have. And we had just had our grand opening of our new facility we bought, and there's these, the grand opening scissors, the massive huge scissors that you cut the ribbon with. And I don't know what he was doing. I could see him through the conference room door that he was over there. And then all of a sudden you see him kind of come around the corner, rolls the conference room door over, and just takes these massive scissors and goes, "I'm here to cut the budget." Stomps the scissors. I'm mortified. I can't even believe this. And so I hard WTF to him and shipped him out the door. And I called my mom on him and told him, can't let him come around in the office anymore for a little while because I was too frustrated with him. But I wouldn't trade that relationship for the world, man. My dad is the best thing that ever happened to me. He gave me a strong work ethic, gave me the background in the trades. Loyal as the day is long. I don't know how to say it in any other way.
Sounds like you're having a lot of fun over there, Mike.
It's something.
Yeah. Well, hearing you talk about it, it's really interesting because I know a lot of small business, much smaller than your operation, but I know a lot of business owners, and recently a lot of them are just like really negative about things, about the environment we're all trying to work through right now economically, and kind of like we talked about before we started recording with New York State and all the fun and owning a business in New York State, and they're just, a lot of them are just down in the dumps, but you just sound like you're really happy with your business and having a good time doing what you're doing. It's kind of it's refreshing.
Yeah,
Nice.
I like literally love what I do. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Raising, I would say, the second hardest thing I've ever done. Having kids, I was not a very patient person, and so the thing that I've learned through the last probably 4 years, 5 years is patience. I was a very get it done, let's go type of mentality. And as you scale a business, I think that that's probably the best character trait that I've most recently learned is how to just bring it down, look at what you're trying to accomplish, and then give it perspective. I had an employee that worked with us, and he requested that I kept having kids because for every kid that I had, my patience went further and further up. So
Nice.
he was disappointed to hear that we weren't having any more, but was very appreciative of the 2 that we had from a person, that perspective.
Absolutely.
So I have a question because, you have so much going on, Mike, and you're growing the business at such a rapid rate. And how do you manage, because let's face it, whether we have a good time or not, it's stressful. How do you manage that? And what does a typical day look like for you? How do you manage that and keep pushing through it and continue to keep that positive mentality?
I'm a yes guy. So I I like to say yes, and I ask our customers, how do we get to yes, right? So most of the time it is just, I know what my responsibilities are. I set more realistic expectations with myself now than I ever have in the past. I'm trying to teach Alyssa that a little bit, because the list in owning a business is 4,000 items a day, right? There is no way you're ever going to accomplish what is actually on your list. So I work in like sprints, is what I like to say. So I work an hour with people, I work an hour on the computer, and then I try to work on whatever I'm trying to accomplish. So that, like, Indeed, I'm trying to recruit talent, I'm trying to work on whatever. So it's kind of time blocking. But I think that makes me feel good, is that, like, I'm in that perspective of that, as long as I get like my email down to some, oh, you guys lose me, or am I good?
No, I think you're good.
Okay, sorry.
I mean, I
Sorry
still
about
got
that.
you.
My computer popped up for a second. So I try to, like, accomplish a realistic list. And sometimes if you make the list shorter, it actually works out better, because every day you're not accomplishing, 3,900 things. And that feels like crap, to be honest with you. I'm trying not to swear. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm doing really good so far. But
Don't worry about it.
It's all
Mike
right.
does it all
We'll
the time.
bleep it out.
all right, go. Okay. Yeah. So, like, but in that perspective, it's, if I just say I'm going to get these 10 things done, then if I have time, then it allows me to be flexible with that other time in the day. So if I knock it out in 4 hours, then I'm like, all right, what do I have availability for in my capacity now? Puts my frame of reference way better. I used to make myself feel terrible because I would never get my full list done. And then the next day, more stuff would come. And the next day, more stuff would come. And it just kept piling and piling and piling. And then you go home and you're frustrated, you're angry. You got dishes to do, you got laundry to do, you got to cut the grass. Like that, the list never ends. And when you own a business, I can at least say from the business that I run, I have to know so much stuff. Like, we have a full insulation division, we have a general contracting division, we have the dumpster business, and they have to give and take. And so I will say that our staff is very understanding about where the lead of my responsibility needs to be focused for whatever specific reason. So, like I had said at the beginning, 7 years to grow the weatherization division, 7 years to grow the general contracting division. So in that period of time, I was always accountable to either department, but not at the same time. Like, you can't do both. So you get that thing set up so that it rolls, and then I moved on to the next thing. I don't know if that answers the question, but make a shorter list. Like, set what is the highest priority of stuff you have to do in a day to be relevant, current, whatever. And I love to say yes to people. I love to say yes to clients. I love to say yes to our employees. I work, there's a meme that I saw years and years ago or whatever, and it says entrepreneurship is working from when you open your eyes to when you close your eyes every single day. And so I always tell my staff, is like, I may not be physically present in this office, in this 5x8 little box, but this thing never shuts off. It is rolling and rolling and rolling every second of every day of the week.
Love that.
No, it's great advice. Yeah. And what's your typical day look like?
Close your eyes.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Or no, go ahead, Derek.
So, with that, again, great advice, but what does a typical day look like for you? What's your routine? Do you have any things that you do on a daily basis to keep yourself grounded?
Yeah, so I work out 3 days a week. Having kids turned me into a chubby bunny for a little while. I started to pack on a couple pounds through COVID. I got a little lazy. And so about a year ago, I'm about 6'1". I was starting to clock in at 230, but not a good 230, a bad 230. And so I kind of looked at myself. I was kind of giving my health away. And so now I work out 3 days a week. I go early in the morning. I wake up, 5-ish. I get to the gym. I put in an hour at least, and then I do some cardio. I like to set myself some competitions, I guess. I'm doing a Spartan. I did a Spartan last year.
Nice.
I'm doing a Spartan this year. I'm going to do a 100-mile
Nice.
bike ride, which I've done in my past. So I try to do like two things so that I don't, I'm a competitive person, so I don't like to lose. And so I set myself up with these little incremental goals that I have to perform on, or events, I should say, better events that I have to perform on. So I don't want to be made a fool. So it puts me in perspective to actually get the goal done. I found that I can't just go to the gym. I need a person to tell me what to do, because I tell everyone else kind of in my responsibility, my kids, like I'm the responsible party. I like to show up. I work out with someone and they just, yo, this is what you're doing today. We're doing legs and I'm going to murder you. You're going to do 8 million squats. You're going to, whatever it is. And that works for me. So most days of the week, I wake up early in the morning, 5 o'clock ish. And I go, our kids are fortunate and they get to spend one day a week with their grandparents, each set of grandparents. So Wednesday they go to my in-laws, and Thursdays they go to my parents. I typically drop them off at the particular grandparent's house that day, and I go to the office and work. I'm sitting, I would say, the vast majority of my day in front of a computer at this point, or in meetings and developing processes, standard operating procedures, development of our current employees, things like that. And on the weekends, in the wintertime, as I've talked to Derek about, I love to snowmobile. It's my favorite thing to do as a hobby. And we spend a lot of time with our friends, like as much as we possibly can. And my wife and I don't buy each other gifts for any holidays. We like experiences. So we, like for Christmas, we just go someplace. For any little holiday or birthday, we try to spend the time together, personally, or with our kids or with our family. I don't need new pants or a hat or whatever it is. I know what I like. I'd rather buy it myself than someone try to buy it for me.
That's awesome. I know we're getting long on time, but Mike, if you were going to tell someone, one thing, maybe a aspiring business owner, blue collar business owner, or someone that's already in it, just trying to grow and scale, if you were going to give them one piece of advice, what do you think it would be?
Hire a person to pick up the phone. Go do what you're good at. That's literally the basis of my whole success. Is literally the best decision I ever made was to have a person to be there to support me and pick up the phone. And so every carpenter I see that's going out on his own, plumber, electrician, you can't be the estimator, the guy that picks up the phone. You end up losing business because you have too much going on. You can't be soldering the pipe and picking up the phone and doing the estimate and doing all that. It's impossible. And I think that the money people would pay to do that, they don't see the value in it. But I think it's the biggest value missed in the trades, in my personal opinion. I can't tell you the invaluable success that I've had because I've had a person there to support me and my success and making me accountable from the beginning.
How about, I got a follow up to that?
Sure, shoot, as many as you got, man. I'll go for 3 hours. I love what I do, so it's whatever you got.
So, with picking up the phone, right? So do you have a viewpoint that it should be a live human picking up the phone? Or, obviously in the industry right now, there's huge pushes into, whether it's answering services, automations, on-call services that are offshore, using AI. Like, what are your thoughts on all that? Do you think it just so long as you're not the one answering the phone, or do you think it matters if an actual human's answering the phone?
You're going to laugh your absolute butt off. So up until literally Wednesday, yesterday, we had a phone, one phone, cordless phone, just like in your mom's house, like in the 90s, that literally someone picked up the phone. And then if they wanted to talk to you, then they had to put it on hold and physically walk and hand that phone to another person. We ran
Nice.
a 25-person office off of like 2-3 cordless phones. And the reason I like that is the interpersonal relationship that you get from one employee to the other, having to interact with one another. And in addition to that, the homeowner, the client, the field installer, whoever it is getting a person immediately. They're not waiting. So the value, in my opinion, is that that the world will move to AI. I will not. I don't think that for my personal business, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it's just not the direction I want to go with our business. I love live humans. I always kind of say this. My wife is the person that orders pizza online from a pizza joint. I'm the guy that wants to talk to Tim. I want to know that he's got the pineapple, bacon, onion on my pizza. And I want to be able to call Tim back and tell him that he made the best pizza I've ever had.
Nice.
And so when I get that live person, it excites me. So I just, that's the way I'm going to run my business into infinity.
I love it, man. And I agree. I would much rather talk to a person.
I don't want to hit one to talk to someone. I don't want to hit two. Our phone system now is literally whatever number they call is going to directly go to the account manager. The account manager will immediately pick up the phone. And then at that time, it's not let me put you into the voicemail. It's going to be, hold on 1 second. Let me get you. Our guys all have company phones, can immediately ring their cell phone right in the field. So
nice.
Thank you guys. I love to talk about this. I could go on for hours and hours. It's cool what you're doing. And
you got
to do it anytime.
No, I appreciate it. We'll have to have you back, and we don't want to hold you up. You got to enjoy the rest of that snow you have.
Yeah, man. Get out on that sled.
Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great day.
Yeah. If somebody wants to learn more about you, your business, how do they find you guys?
Sure. My name again is Mike Turcotte. I'm the owner of Turncycle Solutions and Clean Up Your Mess Dumpsters. You can find us at 603-591-2776, which will directly be picked up. And on the web, you can find us at turncyclesolutions.com or cleanupyourmessdumpsters.com. We're not that great at social media because we're busy making things and building things, but we're going to work on that. It's a 24 goal for us. And that's pretty much how you can find us.
That sounds awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again, Mike. Appreciate it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Enjoy the
Mike.
day. Enjoy your time up there, man.
See you guys.
D-Rock, nice to see you, brother.
See you. You too, Mike.
All right, you guys.
We'll talk soon. Bye.